Mom. Hello again.
Hello, good
How are you doing?
morning.
Good morning to you. It was a quite some time. We had a long break
Yeah,
between the two episodes.
true.
Yeah. And yes, we are going back to continue our series on the HR. In the previous episodes, we spoke more, we can say, technically about what is the HR, contracts. Now let's switch to the most important aspect in HR, which is people of HR. And it's one of the questions that really mostly going in my head, and a lot of people that I know, is what it takes, what kind of skills, what it takes to be an HR. How you can, is it a skill? Is it an only study? I don't think anyone can easily being HR, isn't it?
I agree with you. HR is what? Human resource. Human. We are dealing with human. Human skills are very important. And when I speak about the human skills, it's about the person's personal values, how the personal values are being demonstrated at work. So a value, normally people say that, these are the values of so-and-so organization, this is the value of so-and-so organization, and this is what I relate to. Of course you will relate to, because the values, whether it is your family or an organization, lies on the same basic principle. That is integrity, honesty, fairness, transparency, all these things. So the value part is very, very important for a person to start wherever they are, whether it is human resource or any other function. Now coming about the HR, what it requires HR to do is, HR has to, a person who has an interest, to connect with people. Generally, if you see that, some people are very good in talking, they connect with people. How does a person connect with a person? It's not about just talking about any subject. It's about taking a personal interest on the other person. If you're saying something, I should take an interest and ask you a relevant question. And that's how the conversation goes. So if the conversations goes well, then you feel that, yes, I have that kind of quality where I connect with person. So this is a basic thing when you start looking at a career option as a HR. So you move into HR. You take up a role. Now, how do I start a role into HR? Basically, I feel before a person forays his career into HR, has to have the fundamentals and the basic knowledge about the human resource. Human resource, people think that, it's a very generic term. I can do
exactly.
HR.
This is what
Yeah, people
mostly
think,
common known.
Yeah, but the people who actually do the work, they know it's not that easy. It's a very complex, and there is a science behind it. There is a human science behind it, behavioral science about it, organizational behavior. So many things are there. So you have to know the fundamentals. So when I started my career, well, as I mentioned in my previous episodes also, I did not get into HR directly.
I know as you mentioned, you've been in a career
Legal
which is
field,
legal
yes.
field and
So
lawyer, which is
yes. So I did my BA Honours Political Science, which was something very different, which was more related to the politics, and then I did LLB, which is like a law degree. I did that, and I started my career in the legal field. And later, I realized that I'm a person who can connect with people well. So I thought of getting into the HR. But just getting into the HR wasn't an easy pathway. I had to first clear my fundamentals. That is, I had to go for a formal study. So formal study is very important to get into the HR. Now, what it takes you to work in UAE is that, you have your formal degrees from your country, whichever origin you are coming from. You are coming from India, Philippines, Pakistan, or any other European countries. You have your basic knowledge, in the sense that you have a degree. You have your graduate degree in psychology or human resource or humanities, whatever, or you may be a commerce graduate as well. You can be any kind of background. And then you decide to get into the HR. So you don't have any kind of foundational courses which you have done in the past. So when you come to in UAE, you can actually go and enroll yourself for different kind of certification programs which are done by different countries, which are run by like there is a community which drives this certification, which is based US based certification. There is a UK based certification. There is a Canada based certification. There is a lot which is happening, and there are communities which are built on that. I request everyone who is looking at HR as a next career stone, they should look at these kind of certifications, because that develops you on the foundations, that orients you with the foundation.
Actually, that leads to the next question. I was going to ask you about certification in a sense of being a formal, let's say, of a job or a career life path. Is there any difference, like a main difference between, say, you have different schools and different studies, like between the American, the English, British, or American? If there's a difference in the, let's say, the way they study or the principles or whatever. Definitely, there's a main and a common principle, but if there's any difference in details or
in order to answer your question, I would refrain myself of promoting any particular certification program, because that's like, I'm promoting them, I'm endorsing them. I personally have not done the certification, but I hold this position in this career because of my experience and my relevant qualification in this field, from my home country, that is India. However, in the recent past, I would say in the last 10 years or so, a lot of bodies have come up who are imparting these kind of formal education, that's why I mentioned about US based, UK based curriculums. There is Canada based curriculums are there. Now it is upon you which one you want to choose and which one you want to go for the certification. Now, all of them definitely will give you the clarity on the fundamentals of HR, which is very important to know. Now, let's talk briefly about what are these fundamentals, because since I hold a degree in HR from India, the fundamentals, basically, it's all about organization, cascading into different kind of areas of organization, organizational culture, organizational behavior. Then you have different forms of addressing the HR, So when people talk about HR, they think that, HR is only about payroll processing or recruitment.
Hire and fire.
Yeah, hire and fire, as you mentioned that. I would say it's not hire and fire, it's hire to retire.
So that's a good one. Let's keep this in mind, hire to retire.
Hire to retire. That's a good one. Yeah. So it's also the development of the person who joins an organization. So from the hire to retire is a responsibility of the HR who drives this personal and professional development for that individual. I'm talking about individual in order to give you an idea how it works. So a person who comes as an entry level, who doesn't have any kind of experience in HR but has a formal degree, whether from the home country or from here, the certification is done, and he or she gets an opportunity to work for an organization, I would say go for it. Go for it, even if it is very, very foundational kind of work to do. For instance, the basic thing HR starts is a personal management. What is personal management? It's people management. People management, what? It starts from the filing part, It's not just the advanced way of looking at, I want to do the personal management means I'm going to start with their performance appraisals and other. No. You're not going to that level. Yeah. You actually start with the filing. You should understand a personal basics, file.
Exactly. Yeah. Understand how things work from the ground.
From the ground. The reason I'm talking about personal management, personal filing, P file, which we call it as, is that you understand a history background of that individual. Okay, and what are the documentations which are very, very important? UAE believes and strongly propagates this, that individual whom you're hiring, his or her credentials should be properly verified, documented. The documentation plays a very, very important role. That's why I'm talking about the filing part. So the documentation, you should see how it has been done. What are the important things when you are hiring a new person on board. How is the interview process going on? Is the interview process, is there any interview assessment form? Has it been done more objectively? What are the criterias of interview? Then it comes, what kind of application form this person has filled in. Has he given all the details? He or she has given all the details. So that's very important. So you go step by step, understanding the file part. So I always rely on this point that documentation is the basic thing which is very, very important for one to understand. I'm not asking you to completely devote your time on that, but understand the personal file management. And if you are a entry HR level and you get a job as a file managing person or documentation control person, there is no harm of taking this, but at least you will get to know what it takes to get functional in an organization. Okay. Also, the filing
that's
part.
a good way to look at the things. As you said, like it's not only filing; it's actually knowing the people they are doing to prepare the files.
So that part is very important, as I mentioned, and then you start working in that organization. Here I'm trying to address the entry level people so that we can talk more about the other levels, as we go about this conversation. So when an entry level person comes, he gets a job. Say, for instance, he finds, oh, I'm a management graduate with a human resource. I've done this degree or course from UK, India and all, and I'm getting to do a filing job, So no job is small job. You can still make it big. You have an entry to that organization. Start getting into the role, understand what a file goes into it, what is the documentation. Now this documentation will also make you understand the labor contracts, what kind of contracts are being entered, what types of contracts a person has, and also understand the payroll and many other things.
You can connect things. You can
connect things.
A question, ma'am, comes to my mind. Is there any chance that someone without an HR background or HR career to move from, let's say, as you said, a position of a PA or to become someone working in HR and being effective in HR? Can he or she get an opportunity to be in HR career?
Certainly. One can definitely have, if a person has an interest to work with people, can definitely get into HR, and it's all about the organization if they are willing to give that kind of opportunity.
That brings us back to the beginning of our discussion. It's about the person.
Yeah, we were talking about. Let me connect you with my background as well, because from there it started. As I mentioned to you, I'm a dual degree holder. I did my BA Honours Political Science, then I did my law, and then ventured myself into the legal side. And with the legal background, I entered a corporate, start working with them. And it's one of the most Fortune 500 company, that is GE. I joined them as a communication person, I did not have any kind of HR background. I had a legal background, but I was more into the communication because my communication was very good. And there was an opportunity and I wanted to work with Fortune 500. That was my dream company. I joined them. When I joined them, I started taking interest on what other functions they are and what other people do. My lunch breaks were talking to the other department, understanding what is their role. And that's how I got to understand what type of roles exist. And gradually I saw that HR is an area where I can try my interest and develop my interest and work on that. So one of the day I approached the senior leader of HR at that point of time, asking that if there is anything which I can do. I didn't ask for a job opportunity, or a career shift or something like that. I just said I would like to, this is on my personal time, I would like to give time to the HR. Is there anything I can help you with or I can support you? He was really impressed that I'm showing that interest to work with him. And he said, yes, we will keep it in mind. If there is something coming up, we'll get you onto the board. And it happened. In no time it happened, There was a reward programs which was going on, and they wanted extra volunteers, from other departments. And they thought of me because I'm the one who approached them. And I started working with them. And gradually, it started with that reward program, and it moved into different areas, And when a suitable opportunity at a very, very entry level came in HR, they opened this position to me because I was right in front of them, And it was easier for them to take me internally. Having given you my background, I did the same thing while advancing in my career. Whichever organizations I worked, I started looking for those kind of people who are showing a personal interest of moving into HR. I started looking for those kind of people. I started identifying within my department as well, and I started also looking at people who are coming for interviews with a very different qualification but want to apply for something. And when I see that, oh, this person has a background which I can use it in the HR, I started giving those kind of opportunity. I think in my last 35 years of experience, I would have given a career path to more than 100 people kind of thing. I'm seeing these numbers looks very large, but actually speaking, I did it, not only through my mentorship, not only through my coaching way, not only giving them opportunity in different other companies as well through my networks. I did that because I believed that it's not just the formal education you require, it's also your personal ability to connect with people, your communication skills, and when it can happen to me, it can happen with anyone else as well. Having given that background, I'll quickly move into my present organization. In the last 3 years, I have given this kind of opportunity to two individuals. One is still in the preparation mode. One, I have already given her a career path. This person is an Emirati national who joined me in early 2023, had a HR formal background, experience, qualification, experience as well. However, did not know at the ground level how to work, in the sense how the processes work, how you have to do the execution part of it. I started working with her more closely. She joined me as a personal assistant. I started looking at her strengths and what I can really work on her. I realized that she could be a person who could be an additional resource, who could help my PRO department, that is the one who processes the visa and the labor contract and all, because she has eye on detail. She was a person who was working more on the details of a contract. She used to read things, bring those kind of things, because she did a audit which I gave her a project, and she audited many contracts, and she came out with those mistakes. Mistakes I'm talking about, contract mistakes. She identified those. So I really applauded her.
That's a huge thing.
That's a huge thing.
Contract, it's
a mistake. It's a huge thing. Although we didn't have too many of them, we had one or two cases which came to my highlight.
In such a case, one small mistake could cause a huge issue.
Yes, fortunately, I would say fortunately, because these cases came very recently. I mean, the contract was yet not finalized. It was just a draft mode. As you know that, when the contract is prepared, it is a draft. And once the party agree, then it becomes a final with the endorsement of the Mori. So it was on the draft stage, and she picked up this mistake there and then itself. When I saw this kind of quality in her, I realized that she could be one of my potential resource who could be groomed in this labor contract and the immigration. And no sooner I decided to move her into the other side of the table, that she could work with a PRO, Public Relations Department, which is more on the Government Relations Department. We call them as GRO and not PRO. Anyways, so we have different names in our hospital, like we don't call ourselves as human resource, we call ourselves as human capital. We don't call ourselves as PRO, we call ourselves as GRO, Government Relation Officers. So this team also reports to me. Now she has become a really very important asset for many reasons, because not only she looks into these kind of contracts and other things, she works on it. She's also handling Emirati recruitments. That's a huge thing.
That's a nice
And I see a big difference having given this kind of opportunity to her, having empowered her. She is taking a full responsibility on recruitment of Emiratis. She is herself networking with many forums, groups to find the right resource. She's sitting for interviews. She's herself taking the interviews and then finalizing thing. Other than that, she's also handling the entire part of the pensions, which is a big thing with the Emirati. So, this is how I have given her a complete career path to her. She's very motivated individual. She comes to work every day. She is very productive at her work. She's result oriented. I have so many things to talk about her. Anyways, moving on. The other person whom I'm investing currently on my time is that again this person has taken over the role from the other person. I just spoke to you about the Emirati national. He has joined me a few months back as a personal assistant, and he doesn't have any kind of formal education. He doesn't have a formal education, no HR, no healthcare experience, nothing. I just saw his ability to interact with people, his personality being very soft and nice, and he connects with people well. And I felt I need this kind of person for my department, who could actually interact with all types of people, whether it is doctors or nurses or anybody. I started giving him little projects, I started aligning him with particular teams, like I have different teams who are working. I have a payroll team, I have a reward and recognition team. So I gave him as a additional resource for the reward and recognition team. Now, I never knew that he has a creative side on his side, On the reward and recognition program, he's coming out with beautiful ideas and he's executing those ideas in those so well. In the last 2 months, he has really done a commendable job in coming out with new ideas, and also he has driven many other projects which I keep giving him as a project base. So I test people by giving them assignments which are short-term assignments, so that you can measure, you can define the assignment first, measure the assignment, analyze, improve and control. The DMAC technology of Six Sigma, that's what I apply on my job.
Okay, ma'am. Now we covered, let's say, the basic the foundation of how a person will start their career in HR. But let's get to the juicy stuff. Okay. Anyone in any career is they look for the positions which is, let's be the top, being a director. But for sure, you cannot jump from let's say a beginner to a director, and you have to go in between. So what it takes again to become an HR senior or mid-level, and what that makes this senior a director level in HR.
Okay, very interesting. I spoke a lot about the formative years of a HR, how to enter, how to start your work from. No job is a small job, which I spoke about. Now, when we talk about the middle level of HRs, formally, if you ask me, when I hire a middle level of HR people, I look at their qualification, from which place they have studied, and irrespective of what is their qualification, like whether they are from UK certification or US certification or from India or from any other country as such. But I first look at the fundamentals of HR have been
Definitely.
done or not. So that's very, very important for me. And having said that, then comes the experience part of it. When I talk about the experience, I look at this person's experience in which area it is, because normally you get people who have a generalist kind of experience. That is, they work on all areas of HR, whether it is recruitment or performance management or the exit process, everything they work into, including the payroll also. So they are like generalists.
This is where my sort of a question running in my head, because being a senior in HR or being an HR director, let's say, it's being the people who manage the people who manage the people. You're a person, you manage a number of person in charge for managing other people, which is it needs the skills, it needs experience, it needs a different type of experience.
Yeah, agreed. It has to be worked very gradually on that. And if you ask me, if your question is directly on how to become a CHRO, I'll go
Yeah,
step by step for
definitely.
it. You know, my first step would be that if you're in the middle level of HR, and you're doing good in whatever area you are, for instance, you are a compensation benefit person, and you want to become a CHRO. So a CHRO is a person who's having a understanding of all the processes which are under HR. Okay, like if I give you my own example, today I am a CHRO for Zahra Hospital. The reason being is that I worked on all these different areas of HR. That's how I'm able to supervise, oversee, supervise, monitor everything
And mostly having the
my team
knowledge
is doing.
basically on each and
My
every
Yeah.
area.
So you have to have knowledge. You have to have knowledge and experience of handling them, because knowledge is just not enough. Even the experience. Why? Experience teaches you through the trials and errors.
Yeah, that's
You
the whole.
commit mistakes. You commit mistake, then you know how to correct it. You know, you come out with a solution how to do it. So trials and errors helps you gain that experience. So that experience should never ever be discounted. When people say that, you know, oh, I have so much of experience, still I'm not finding a job. You know, if you're not finding the job, it's not just alone the experience, but also how you present yourself to the
Definitely.
people. We'll talk about it later. Right now, the question is about how to go into that next role. So I would say the middle level managers to invest their time understanding other processes as well. If you are a in a specialized area. If you're already handling a generalist role and handling everything for a setup which gives you, you know, an area which you can have a control of everything, do that of understanding everything, and also try managing people under you. That's very important part, you know, because if you go into a bigger role, you will have to manage a bigger team. Like currently I have team of 18 people working under me. So you will have a bigger team, and you should know how to manage them. So in order to go to that level, first you will have to start with even one direct report is good enough for you. When you start giving directions to one direct report and managing work, because see, managing work is not an easy thing, because you are doing your own work and then you're delegating your work, and again you're supervising that work.
Yes.
Actually, it's a double burden for a manager, right? So the double manager doesn't come with a easy cakewalk, you know. So you will have to do your work as well
Well,
as
there's other work.
supervise the other
Yeah.
work as well. And when you're supervising work, the supervising work will come only when you have a clarity of that role.
Definitely.
So when you have a clear clarity of role and you have a clear understanding with that person that this is our scope of work and this is what I want to give you and these are the kind of work you have to do it, you assign the responsibility and start monitoring the work. Many managers, what they do is that once they delegate the work, they actually don't check back on the work. They think that I've delegated the work, it's done. It cannot work like that. You will have to check, recheck. You have to keep doing.
And the manager expectation, because you supposedly know the person that you're giving the
Yeah,
job or the task for.
absolutely, absolutely. But managers also have their say. Some of the managers come with this point of view, you know. Well, I don't like to do a micromanaging, you know. I like to believe in empowerment. Okay, you empower, but then end of the day,
It's your
you will
exactly.
be
It's your responsibility.
responsible. You are the chief of that department. You will be responsible. So how you drive this responsibility is your call. If you think check recheck is a good method, do it. If you think no, I'm not going to do a micro level of check recheck, I will have a second level to do that recheck, check recheck, you can do that. But I feel when you are hands on with your own team and when your team size is not that big, you know, a team size of 18 people is not that big enough for me. I've handled bigger team than this. But if you have 18 people also, you can always have a different mechanism to monitor their work, you know. You can actually put successors under each of the people so that, you know, they work in their zone, and then you have direct reports. For instance, I have these five verticals under me very, very clearly, which includes compensation benefits, HR operations, the GRO, which I spoke about, training and development, and the last is the exit one, you know. So I have these five teams who work under me, and I make sure that I have one senior person over the one. So everyone has one direct report. So the reason I designed and structured my team in this manner, so that I could see each one of them growing into a managerial role. And I did this with a purpose. These are their formative years to become a manager, learn the managerial skills, and that's the reason I gave them the responsibility. And I try to teach them in my own way how to do the check and recheck, At their level, I want them to do the micromanaging level. At my level, I don't do the micromanage, but I do have a full hands-on how the department is running, So if anything happens, people know that if I go to the CHRO, I'll get an answer. That's how one should be functioning as a managerial role. So managerial role is not just the role, it's the skill. And the skill is all about delegating, check, reach.
This is always an example we give in the movie industry. Like when you produce when you create a movie, whether successful or a failed one, it's a huge team working, actors, directors, DOPs, but after all, it comes under a director name. That's why he's the responsible, that's what we call director. There's a lot of people under the director working, hundreds. But after all, when they say a movie, it's movie by the name of director. So if the movie is successful, it's the successful of the director because of his or her vision. And if it's failed, it's the same thing, the director. So that's always, we give an example of this. That's why you mentioned it's like, as a manager, you need to know everything, because after all, it's your responsibility.
Absolutely. And this moves to the next part of the role, is a leadership role. We spoke about the managerial skills. Now it comes the role of a leadership, the leadership role basically. Leadership skills are a very different skill altogether, There are different types of leaderships. The leadership is more participative leadership, people-centric leadership. There's more task-oriented leadership. There's more of the strategic type of leadership, that I'll only give a strategy, rest the planning and execution part should be done by someone else. There are different types of leadership, but the qualities of the leadership remains the same. The quality has to be, the basis is the values. The value has to be somebody who leads by example, If I say that, all of you have to be on time, if I'm not coming on time, then how can I drive this point? It's a very simple kind of driving this point, that leading by example is very important. And, if you set the tone, then rest of them will follow, So that's why people say that, we follow the leader, The leadership goes up to the level of the not just the CE level I'm talking about, the drivers of the hospital, that is the promoters of the hospital, As you know that in Emirates, more and more organization are towards the promoter side, and there are organizations who are corporate side. The promoters side is like, this is my second hospital in last 15 years, and both the hospitals are driven by the promoters. So the promoters are the visionaries. They have certain kind of leadership skills, and qualities. And when they have this kind of leadership skill and quality, as a HR person, when I joined them, like in my previous organization, when I joined the promoters, I had two of them, I had the chairperson as well as the managing director, and both of them were related, but I had to learn I had to come to an understanding level to know them, well. And it took me some time to do it, and then started performing, So the performing in your job will come only when you understand the person well. So same it goes with my present organization, where I joined them about 3 years back. Understanding the promoter is very important. What's the vision? What they are looking at, how they want to drive the business. So the business part comes. So leadership quality I spoke about, being a business partner is very important. The business acumen is important. When you're joining any organization, you have to understand the nature of the business. If you're joining a chocolate factory, confectionery factory, you have to understand how does the entire factory works. How does the chocolate goes through the process to become what is with this brand name it comes out. Same way, when I joined hospital, I took an understanding of each and every department, delve into it, because that helped me to source the right talent for the organization. So understanding the business is very important. Once you have an understanding understanding of the business, then you start working with the finance to understand how the financials impact. As a HR, very important is that the financials come here not only through your recruitment offers. This is my manpower planning, budgeting. Yes, that's very important. Other than that, there is something very important is that what's your manpower cost? In terms of business revenues, how much is your manpower cost? Is it marginal or is exceeding? Where we are on. So normally, since you have certain kind of reputation in the market, you maintain your business at a larger scale. Like our hospital is one of the premium hospital. So we have a very large scale of presenting our hospital. The reputation stakes are very high. The hospital infrastructure is also very modern and very demanding, so which requires me to deploy more manpower because of the scale and length of the hospital. The facility is huge. So I cannot say that I can reduce the manpower here, because it's a necessity. So you will have to have an understanding of the finance head that what should be the ideal manpower cost, which should be your threshold. This should be something which I should look at it. Beyond this, if my manpower cost goes high, then you should raise the red flag to the management, to the corporate governance team, that this is what is happening. We need to look at it. Where do we, where do we structure, how do we structure our organization? How do we do the multitasking? Because all solutions doesn't lead to the layoffs. People think, layoff. Layoff is very easy way to close any kind of discussions. If you have to have a proper way of restructuring, you should look at multitasking, which is very important. How you can multitask and assign those individuals to some other.
This is the general idea. When they say restructuring, first thing they do is lay off people. No, I don't think it's like this. As you mentioned, it's like how you multitask, how to utilize the multitasking assets in the organization. Yeah, that's beautiful. We can say we have a now sort of, or not sort of, really good understanding about HR in different aspects. I will come for a question. I don't say it's a critical question, but it is there, the question. It's women in HR. Mm-hmm. Now it's a very wide question. But what I mean women in HR, there's two aspects here. One, we see HR is really, let's say, honest, it's dominating by the females. In most organizations, you see it's dominated by women or females. And what is the obstacles and what's the challenges being a woman in HR and being a woman leader from your point of view? I know it's a bit
very, very interesting question, but I'm just trying to formulate my thoughts and share it with you in my own way, in my experience of 35
we
years.
Definitely we're looking for this answer based on your experience and the things you've been, and the education, career,
Yeah, true. Frankly speaking, role, whether it is given to women or men, the output is similar. I don't see the women brings a different edge to it. Having said that, the reason I said it because I believe in equal gender equality. So I will not say that I'm too pro to the women. But the point is that why women choose this as a career is also that it gives you a very work-life balance kind of thing, that you have standard timings of work and you can manage your personal life as well as work. And also this is one part of it. Now, when I come back to other aspects of women being in HR, there is a lot of application of emotional intelligence, into the role. A man can do the same work, but the emotional intelligence, the empathy part may be missing. As I give you examples, in my talk that, when people are being laid off, it's a very, very sensitive situation. A woman can handle these kind of situations much better than a man. And this I'm saying with my experience. I've seen when I have to communicate this kind of decision to the person, I have a man as a colleague, who's representing that particular department, and I as a HR sitting, and the way I talk to the person communicating this decision is very different than the one who is sitting with me. So when I see this kind of thing, then a woman is a much better placed as a human resource person than a man for certain kind of roles in the HR. I'm not being very generic that all roles should go to HR. 53% as per statistics, what I know is are the women who are in the HR role. Now, HR, when they are into this kind of role, they do feel that kind of pressure coming in when they say no to things. Because see, HR is also a function which is a guardian of policy, processes and other things. So when we say no to people that as per policy, I cannot do this, it's never taken in a right way. Although it's written in the policy, they know that it's written, but
So it's
still
an
they would like
HR
you.
fault.
Yeah. So they will say HR has said no to it. So they will never take this, our statements in that manner. They will say that this is HR. HR policies are not friendly HR policy and all. A good thing working in Emirates is that, United Arab Emirates, is that everything is laid out very clearly in the law. You have to be just 100% compliant with the law, and the law has given us so much of transparency and clarity to people don't come out with these kind of exceptions. But however, when you have different perks other than what you're offering, that's where the exceptions come, and people start asking for favors and other things which is not written in our internal policy. So then the situation becomes very tough, of saying no to that. So your question was that, the challenges, this is the challenge, when you have to say no to the person. Being assertive is always taken as something being very aggressive. However, we will have to use our communication methods of conveying and communicating this policy, that this is the policy. And if you think that I'm not in sync with your point of view, we can take this or escalate this issue to the next level. So we have been able to combat these kind of issues internally very well. And I don't see this as a challenge, but I see this as an opportunity of showcasing your communication well to the people.
Awesome. Mr. Jaya, it was, as always, an amazing talk. A great amount of information and knowledge, which is it's always a new things to learn. I'm looking forward for our next episode, and as you promised, that's going to be a really interesting one, I guess. True. So till the next episode, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this amazing information we had. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.